The sound sliced through the room like a polished insult wrapped in champagne. "Come on, she's just the cleaner, let her play. We could use some entertainment." Julian Whitmore's words drew immediate laughter from the others in the executive lounge. The room, perched 50 stories above the ground in the Veritros Global HQ, shimmered with soft jazz, dim gold lighting, and the buzz of power layered over subtle cruelty. One vice president raised a glass, someone from marketing chuckled, and a man from HR murmured something about how hilarious it would be if the maid beat the boss. No one looked toward the woman by the marble column except for Julian. She stood still, next to her wheeled cart with a faded name tag that read A. Kamara. Her uniform was crisp despite its wear, gloves folded neatly in her pocket, and her expression unreadable. Asha Kamara did not flinch. She hadn't flinched when a woman tripped over a glass of spilled scotch and blamed her. She hadn't flinched when someone suggested she was too educated to mop, and she certainly didn't flinch now, standing under the suffocating weight of their laughter. On the center table stood a polished ebony and ivory chessboard, more decor than pastime. It was often used as a prop during investor briefings to symbolize strategy and vision, though no one had moved the pieces in months. Julian leaned back in his leather chair and gestured grandly. "Step right up. We've got a seat open for tonight's guest of honor." Aisha walked forward. The air shifted as she did. It was almost imperceptible, just the hush that followed a small rebellion no one expected. She stopped at the board and studied it with a stillness that unsettled the room more than any dramatic flourish could have. "She knows how the pieces move, right?" someone whispered. Another snickered. "It's not checkers, sweetheart." She sat down. "I'll take black," she said. Julian blinked, amused. "Feeling bold, are we?" She didn't answer. Her fingers, scarred from bleach and years of labor, moved with quiet precision as she reset the board. Not for drama, not for defiance, just because she knew how. Julian began with an opening he'd used at Princeton charity matches and private fundraisers. Aisha responded like water absorbing, shifting, inevitable. By move 5, Julian's smirk faded. By move 10, the room grew quiet. At move 13, he stared. At move 19, he found his king cornered with no safe square left. "Checkmate." Her voice was calm, not triumphant. She stood. "Thank you for the game, Mr. Whitmore. I'll get back to cleaning now." And just like that, she pushed her cart toward the elevator. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. The silence in the room was louder than applause. Respect didn't come with volume. It came with stunned stillness. Julian Whitmore sat frozen. Around him, the room shifted uncomfortably. Someone cleared their throat. Glasses clinked. The murmurs tried to restart the party, but the energy had left. No one dared approach the chessboard, not after what had happened. When the event finally ended, after the investors had filtered out and the floor was cleared of empty bottles and half-eaten hors d'oeuvres, Julian was still seated, staring at the board. "Should I, pack the board away, sir?" a young intern asked. Julian didn't respond. He simply stood and left the room, his face unreadable. That night, he didn't sleep. His downtown penthouse, usually spotless and controlled, felt foreign, like a hotel room he didn't remember booking. At 2 a.m., he sat at his kitchen island, laptop open, typing Asha Kamara Chess Chicago into every search engine he could find. Nothing. No profiles, no ratings, no archived wins. Just noise. Just other Ashas, other lives. He clicked through grainy junior league photos from the early 2000s, squinting until his eyes stung. Finally, in a 2008 tournament program from the Southside Community Center, he found her. A child, maybe 13, sitting on a plastic chair with her hands folded calmly over a chessboard. The name listed, A. Kamara. No club, no school, just that. He closed his laptop and stared at the dark window. What was he chasing? Not revenge, not even pride. He wasn't angry she beat him. He was haunted by the fact she saw through him, not just as a player, but as a person. The next morning, he canceled 2 conference calls and showed up at headquarters wearing the same black dress shirt from the night before. His assistant raised an eyebrow. "Long night, sir?" "Just keep the schedule light," he said curtly. Then, without explaining, he took the freight elevator down to level B1, the maintenance floor, the domain of the invisible. The hallways smelled of floor polish and rust. Janitors glanced up in confusion. Electricians paused mid-step. No one stopped him. He moved like a man with a purpose, though even he wasn't sure what it was yet. He found the clean and shift clipboard in the tiny operations office. Her name was there, listed clearly. Kamara, Aisha. But her box was marked off 2 days. No phone number, no address, no emergency contact. Just 2 days of absence from a world that barely noticed her presence. Back in his office, Julian paced. He opened the internal directory. Still nothing. He considered calling HR, but thought better of it. They'd ruin it. They'd make it about compliance and liability and workplace dynamics. He didn't want her story to end in bureaucracy, so he waited. On the 3rd night, Julian returned to the executive lounge. He left the board set, black pieces facing the seat where she'd sat. He stayed past 11 p.m., pretending to review architectural renderings, but really just listening. At 11:43, he heard the faint squeak of rubber wheels. Isha entered, pushing her cart. She saw him but didn't pause. "I didn't mean to humiliate you," Julian said. His voice was low, unsure. "You didn't," she replied, slipping on gloves. "You asked for a game. I gave you one." "You're good," he added, as if it needed saying. "Used to be," she replied. "A long time ago." He walked over. "Where'd you learn?" She wiped down a conference table. "My father, he was a steel worker, played in the park with other shift guys. I used to watch. Then I played. Then life happened." "Why'd you stop?" She looked at him then. "Because hospitals don't run on dreams, and little brothers don't feed themselves." He didn't respond. She went back to her cart. Then he said, "Play again. Not for them, just for me." She hesitated. "No cameras?" "No cameras, no jokes." The silence stretched. Then she pulled the black pieces toward her. "If you open with the King's Gambit again, I'm flipping the board." Julian smiled. He sat, and they began again. The pieces moved without sound, but the weight of every decision echoed in Julian's chest louder than any applause ever had. Aisha's hand hovered over the board with an ease that came not from performance, but from memory real, worn in, bone-deep memory. She played like she wasn't just reading the board, but translating it, as if every square whispered its truth to her alone. Across from her, Julian tried to hold his own. This time there was no audience, no clinking glasses, no stifled giggles or executives watching like it was a circus act. There was just the fluorescent light above them, the soft buzz of air vents, and the scent of lemon floor cleaner lingering beneath everything. The game ended in a draw, but it felt like a victory to Julian. He had lasted more than 19 moves. He'd earned that much. When she stood, he looked up. "You're the most disciplined player I've ever sat across from," he said quietly. She shrugged, adjusting the cloth on her cart. "Discipline's easy when the rest of your life is chaos." Then she pushed the cart out, and once again the elevator doors closed behind her like a punctuation mark on a chapter that still didn't have a title. The next night she returned, and again they played. No words, no awkward explanations, just a game. Sometimes she won. Sometimes she allowed him space to survive. But she never played down to him. She never patronized. It wasn't kindness. It was respect. Julian stopped staying late out of guilt and started staying because he wanted to be better, not just at chess, but at understanding something deeper, something that had been lost in boardrooms and Brandon decks. He asked no more questions about her past. She offered nothing. It was the quietest agreement he'd ever entered. Days passed, nights blurred. They began to play at a rhythm uniquely their own. Some nights she didn't show up at all. Other nights she'd be waiting at the board when he entered. They never spoke of the first night again, but the game that followed it became their new language. And then came the whispering. First in the corridors, then near the elevators. He caught his assistant whispering with someone from HR. Someone said, "He's mentoring a janitor or something." Another replied, "I heard she beat him, like actually beat him, in chess." Julian pretended not to hear, but he noticed the shift. The glances that lingered too long. The boardroom jokes cut short when he walked in. The tension didn't bother him at first. He had weathered worse. But when he noticed how Aisha began to clean faster, speak less, and leave earlier after each game, he realized the target wasn't him, it was her. One night, after another tense draw, she began to pack up quickly. "You're in a hurry," he said, placing the king back in its velvet-lined box. "I got other floors to mop," she replied without looking at him. "You're upset." "No," she lied, too quickly. He leaned back in his chair. "Aisha, I don't need a babysitter, Mr. Whitmore," she cut in. Her voice didn't rise, but it struck. "Whatever this is, it's becoming a weapon. For people who already think I don't belong here." Julian's jaw tightened. "Do you want me to stop coming?" "That's not the point." "Then what is?" She stared at him, and something cracked behind her eyes. "You're used to being misunderstood and still winning. I don't get that luxury. I play one game outside the rules and suddenly I'm getting favors or trying to sleep my way into opportunity." He didn't say anything. Couldn't. "People don't like what they can't control," she added. "You're used to being liked. I'm used to being erased." She left before he could respond. That night, he didn't wait at the board. Instead, he left a single move made on the travel set, a sticky note beside it. "Your turn if you're still playing." She came the next night. Didn't say anything, just moved a pawn and left. The next night, another move, then another. For 4 days they played without speaking, a game suspended across silence and linoleum. No audience, no context, just the click of wood on wood. On the 5th night, she left a note of her own. "Nice try, but your diagonal was exposed 3 moves ago." He laughed when he saw it, out loud. The sound surprised him. It had been weeks since something felt that simple. Later that week, Aisha was called into HR. The room was sterile, white walls and beige chairs. The woman in the blazer smiled like someone had told her to. "We just want to make sure everything remains professional." "I clean floors," Aisha said calmly, "and sometimes I play chess with the CEO." "After hours," the woman noted. On breaks, no money, no obligations, just chess. You must understand how this appears. I understand appearances are a luxury of those with corner offices and title tags, Aisha replied. Am I being disciplined? No, of course not. It's just we're monitoring the situation. Well, Aisha stood, while you monitor, I have floors to clean. That night, she debated skipping the lounge. Let someone else wax Julian's floor. But when she opened the door, she found the board already mid-game. A queen sacrifice sat at the center. Bold, risky, brilliant. She smiled despite herself. So, you were paying attention. She responded with a counter, and for the first time in days, left a note. Better, but still 2 moves too slow. The following morning, Julian walked into a board meeting with something different in his hands. No slides, no earnings sheets, just a printed proposal. Community Mentorship Pilot, Southside Chess, and STEM. One of the older board members raised a brow. You want to fund a chess program? We've failed this part of the city before. Time we did something real, Julian said. The optics are that we're a company who acts, and the idea is simple talent doesn't always wear a badge with clearance. Sometimes it wears gloves and holds a mop. The board passed it. Narrowly, but it passed. 3 days later, a woman in a green suit showed up at the Southside Rec Center. She found Aisha kneeling beside a cracked plastic table, showing a 9-year-old how to block a bishop. Miss Kamara, the woman said gently, we'd like to fund your Saturday program. Supplies, transportation, new boards, no branding, no strings, anonymous donors. Does this have anything to do with a certain man who always plays white? He didn't say. That night, she returned to the lounge. Julian was already there, hands behind his back. The board was empty. She approached. So you're starting the game this time? I figured I've been letting you lead long enough. And the donation? Had nothing to do with me. Of course not. I didn't want to insult your pride. It's not pride, she said, studying the board. It's proof that people like me can get somewhere without being rescued. Then let me offer something else, Julian said. A trade. You train for the tournament. I'll match you game for game. No coaches, no perks. Just you and me. 5 mornings a week, before the world wakes up. You trying to get better? I'm trying to keep up. She pulled the black bishop forward. If I win, she added, you stop treating me like a puzzle you need to solve. And if I win, then maybe you'll understand why it's not enough just to win. That night, he removed the crystal board from the lounge, replaced it with the scratched wooden set, same one used in community centers. No more marble, no more gold trim, just the board. She noticed it when she entered. No more ivory and glass? I figured I should play on your terms. She looked at him, then at the board. Sat down, no words, just a nod. They played. And somewhere between the 4th pawn and the 6th rook, Julian realized he wasn't chasing wins anymore. He was chasing understanding. Aisha wasn't just a player now. She was the mirror he'd been avoiding his whole life, and he wasn't ready to stop looking. The auditorium buzzed with a silence that only those who understood the weight of competition could truly hear. Aisha Kamara stood just inside the entrance, clutching her player badge like it was both armor and burden. The badge simply read, Kamara A. Chicago. Around her swirled grandmasters, college champions, and prodigies whose names were etched into forums and federations. They moved with the ease of people who expected to win. She moved like someone who had never been given permission to be there, yet came anyway. From the other side of the room, Julian Whitmore stepped in, dressed not in a suit or tie, but in a simple gray hoodie and sneakers. He carried no entourage, no air of command. Just a travel chess set under one arm and the kind of steady gaze that ignored cameras. He did not approach her. He nodded once. She nodded back. That was enough. Her first match was against a club player from Evanston, a man who smiled a little too kindly and made a joke about being gentle. She beat him in 27 moves, clean, no waste, and thanked him politely. Her second match was tighter, against a teenage girl with reckless speed and brutal openings. Asha did not match the chaos. She slowed it down, turned the girl's fire into ash by move 32, and waited while her opponent slammed her own clock in frustration. Outside the match room, in hallways lined with coffee carts and murmuring spectators, the whispers returned. Is that the janitor from Veritros? She's not really self-made. You know these stories. Some corporate makeover stunt. She walked past to them like she didn't hear, but she did. Every word lodged like a splinter. Julian didn't say much between rounds. He won some, lost one, drew two. But he wasn't there to win. He was there to watch her carry something heavier than any trophy. That evening, after the last round of the day, she wandered into the hotel lobby to breathe. The walls felt too tight, the air too warm. She didn't expect to find Julian leaning against a marble column, arms crossed, eyes calm. "You looked good in there," he said. She sighed, felt tight. "You played like you'd already won. I played like I had something to lose." They sat on a bench near the vending machines, letting the noise of celebration swell around them without intruding. "Why are you still here?" she asked after a pause. "Because I think this might be the first time I've cared who wins besides myself." She gave him a sideways look. "Second time," he amended. The second day came like a storm. Her third opponent was a former college champion known for trash talk. He greeted her with a smirk and a running commentary. "Brave of you," he said, "taking on the King's Indian without prep. Most street players stick to French." She didn't respond. By move 14, she'd sacrificed a bishop for a central pawn. By move 23, he realized the trap, but it was too late. "Check," she said calmly, sliding her rook. "That's not check," he scoffed. "Look again." He did. His eyes froze, his hand twitched. Then came the silent tip of his king. She signed her score sheet. He didn't offer a handshake. She didn't wait for one. The list of semi-finalists was posted on the wall outside the hall. Her name was at the top. His was farther down. Both made it. They would play on boards side by side. She stared at the printout as a man walked past and muttered just loud enough, "If she wins, it's because someone let her." She turned, but no one lingered. Just shadows and retreating backs. That night, sleep didn't come. She lay in her hotel bed staring at the ceiling, questioning if she was chasing victory or fleeing from the ever-present weight of being mistaken for less. In the morning, the tournament hall was louder, hungrier. Reporters now hovered near the doors. Sponsors whispered. Cameras hovered. Julian was already seated at board 3. She took her place at board 4. Her opponent was tall, well-dressed, polite. His name she didn't recognize. His demeanor screamed hedge fund and tennis club. He smiled. "Ready, Miss Camara?" "I've been ready." The clock started. She played not to impress, not to prove, but to breathe. Her first sacrifice was unexpected. Her second sent him into time trouble. By move 43, he tipped his king and extended his hand with real respect. From the corner of her eye, she saw Julian lose his match, but when their eyes met, he grinned wider than she'd ever seen. He clapped once, then twice, then louder, until the whole hall joined in. She didn't hear it, not fully. The sound reached her ears, but her chest stayed still until she saw him mouth the words like a stranger. That was when it hit. That night, the banquet was too bright, too curated. The crystal trophy sat under spotlights near a tower of imported fruit and white-gloved servers passing lobster can-apps. People circled her like birds around something freshly discovered. Inspiring, they said. So good for the brand. Julian moved through the room slowly, finding her near a table of untouched desserts. "You okay?" he asked. "I've never been in a room with this much lobster and this many fake smiles." He chuckled. "You won, Aisha. You changed the board. Then why do I feel like I'm just a different kind of pawn?" Before he could answer, the governor of Illinois approached with a practiced smile. "Miss Kamara," he said warmly, "your story has moved the entire state. We'd love to partner with you on a youth initiative, maybe a state tour." She looked him in the eye. "You want to put me on a bus and let me talk to classrooms about how I got lucky?" "I wouldn't say lucky. You're exceptional." "I was always exceptional. You just never noticed until now." He blinked, politely excused himself. Julian whistled low. "You didn't have to burn him like that." "I didn't burn him. I lit the truth." She turned to him. "I want to leave now." "Yeah." He signaled to someone, left the trophy behind, and followed her out through the service hallway. The city air hit them like clarity. Cold, honest. They walked in silence along the river walk, the fairy lights from a forgotten festival still clinging to poles overhead. "I used to walk this path after cleaning shifts," she said quietly, "to remind myself I was still part of something bigger than bleach and tile." "And now?" "Now, I don't know." She turned. "You ever feel like winning something just gives people permission to stop listening again?" He thought. "You think they're listening now?" "No, I think they're watching. It's not the same." "Then make them listen. Do something they can't ignore." "Like a YouTube series, a book deal?" "Kamara. From broom to bishop?" "Something quieter, something permanent." He paused. "I want you to run the Youth Chess Initiative. Full time. Your own team. Real budget, no strings." She looked at him. "From Veritros?" "No. From the nonprofit you inspired. You shape it. I just get out of the way." "This another favor?" "It's repayment. For every game you didn't let me win. For every kid who saw you and realized they didn't have to disappear." She turned away, hands tight on the railing. Then, slowly, she nodded. "All right, but on one condition." "Name it." "No cameras, no press, no staged endorsements. Just the work." He held out his hand. "Deal." She shook it, firm, wordless, then added, "You know, I didn't play that final match for glory." "I know." "I played it so a girl like me wouldn't have to wait tables in a hotel ballroom while someone else took credit for her brilliance." He nodded. "You didn't just win. You redefined the game." She glanced sideways. "Don't get poetic on me." They walked again. 2 players, 1 board, and a future that no longer required permission. The gymnasium smelled of wood polish and optimism. It was barely 8 a.m. on a Saturday, but folding tables were already set in straight rows, each one topped with mismatched boards and plastic pieces whose corners had been dulled from use. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, painting golden rectangles on the floor where children squirmed in the metal chairs too big for their frames. Asha Kamara stood in the middle of it all, clipboard in one hand, steady eyes sweeping across the room like a general surveying the front lines. The youngest group clustered near the demo board where she had drawn today's opening in dry erase marker. "All right, everyone," she called out with calm authority. "Pawns to the center. We start in 10. A ripple of energy moved through the room. Laughter, questions, nervous giggles. It had been 32 days since she won the Chicago Open. Not that she was counting anymore. The trophy was boxed and gathering dust in the back room of the nonprofit, wedged between a broken fan and old flyers. She hadn't brought it out. She didn't need it. The work reminded her every day what mattered. "Coach Aisha," called out Tasha, a lanky girl with too much confidence and not enough endgame. She waved a worksheet above her head like a flag. "I beat Jamal in 4 moves yesterday." "Are you sure he wasn't asleep?" Aisha teased. Tasha grinned. "I even did the back rank thing you showed us." "Then you're officially dangerous," Aisha said, nodding. As she turned back to her clipboard, she caught a glimpse of a tall figure leaning casually by the entrance, arms folded, eyes scanning without interrupting. Julian Whitmore had learned how to blend into the background, though he never quite disappeared. He had become a quiet fixture, never during drills or instruction, but always appearing just after, usually with a book or a new chess clock tucked under one arm. The staff called him that donor guy who always loses to Coach Aisha. She approached him during break, wiping chalk off her hands. "You lurking again?" "I prefer the term monitoring strategic deployment," he said with a half smile. "You just like watching 12-year-olds beat you." "Guilty." They walked together toward the tiny staff kitchen. He poured her a coffee without asking. She took it the way you do when something has become habit. "How's the nonprofit board treating you?" she asked. "Like I'm a science experiment they can't figure out how to market. But they keep signing checks, so we're good." "They want a campaign," he added. "Profiles, spotlights, a national rollout." Her smile faded. "Of course they do." "What do you want?" he asked. "I'm tired of being a symbol," she said. "Tired of being pointed at when someone wants to feel good about a broken system. I'm not a soundbite." "You're not," he agreed. "You're an engine. You move forward. The rest of us follow." "That's a poetic metaphor." "I've been reading." "You should have been a poet," she said, then looked at him. "Or maybe a rook." "All straight lines, no nuance." "Ouch," she smirked. Then her eyes softened. "How are you? Really?" He paused, caught off guard by the honesty. "Different," he said. "Quieter, slower. I think before I speak now. Sometimes." "That's either wisdom or burnout." "Probably both." "You seem better." "You are better." She said it plainly, without decoration. "You've built something. Not just a program, a rhythm, a place where kids walk in without flinching." He didn't answer. He didn't have to. "They asked me to nominate someone to lead the city's youth invitational team next month," he said eventually. "Big sponsors, big stage. I put your name down." "Without asking?" "You would have said no." "Exactly. Now you get to say yes." She didn't argue, didn't answer either, just drank her coffee and watched the sunlight move across the dusty floor like a slow, steady tide. Later that afternoon, the final round of practice ended. Kids spilled out of the gym in sneakers and joy, waving tactics sheets and snack wrappers. Isha lingered to stack chairs. Julian helped, no questions asked. She found a single pawn left on the demo board, warm from the sun. She turned it in her hand slowly, then placed it on the 8th rank. She said nothing, neither did he. The next weekend, the citywide invitational filled an old university auditorium with folding chairs, school banners, and the buzz of nervous energy. Asha wore a navy blazer with her name embroidered over a new title. Director, Chicago Youth Chess Initiative. The kids wore matching t-shirts with little black and white pawns printed on the back. They didn't win the whole event, but Tasha placed 5th overall, and that was enough. Enough to feel like the page had turned. At the closing ceremony, the MC took the mic. Before we end today's event, we'd like to recognize someone without whom none of this would have been possible. Aisha tensed. She hated spotlights, but the light found her anyway. Please welcome to the stage coach Aisha Kamara. The applause wasn't polite. It was full, messy, joyful. It came from the kids, from their parents, from the volunteers who stacked tables and passed out apple slices. She walked to the podium, adjusted the mic. Her voice didn't shake. I didn't come here to be seen, she said. I came because I wanted one kid, just one, to believe they were more than what their zip code or school records or uniform said about them. But you all showed me I was aiming too small. You didn't just want to believe. You wanted to build, and you have. The room quieted. There was a time when the only thing people noticed about me was the cart I pushed. Not my name, not my mind, certainly not my game. But the beauty of chess is this. Even the smallest piece can change the entire board if it's brave enough to cross it. The applause shook the walls. She ducked behind the curtain afterward, needing a breath. A silence. Julian waited near the stage props with 2 coffees in hand. I figured you wouldn't want champagne. She took the cup. You figured right. They sat on the stairs backstage, legs stretched out. You did it, he said. We did it, she replied. No, he said firmly, you did. You're really bad at letting people deflect credit. I'm in recovery. They sat quietly. Then he said, What's next? More kids, more boards, more mornings where someone thinks they can't win until they do. And you? She shrugged. I keep showing up, keep listening, keep moving forward. He nodded, then, awkwardly, reached into his coat pocket. I have something for you. If it's another award plaque with my name on it, I swear I'll throw it in the river. He laughed and handed her a small flat box. She opened it. Inside was a carved chess piece. A queen, made from dark polished walnut. Its base was engraved with 5 words. Every move you made mattered. She stared at it for a long time. I'm not used to keepsakes, she said quietly. You should be, he replied. You're someone worth remembering. She closed the box with care. Thank you. They stood together. Neither rushed. Do you ever regret it? He asked. Regret what? Taking that match, sitting down at that board that night. She shook her head. No, I regret every night before it. Every night I convinced myself I didn't deserve to. Outside, the sun was beginning to fall behind the city. The skyline breathed without fireworks or headlines. But somewhere beneath the noise and indifference, something had shifted. Not in the systems, not in the corporations, but in the hearts of the children who now knew they belonged. in the hands of a woman who once pushed a cart and now moved pawns into queens. Later that evening, Aisha returned to her small apartment. She placed the wooden queen on her table beside the single plastic pawn she had kept from the Veritas lounge. One piece began the game. The other rewrote it. And outside, the city kept moving, oblivious, indifferent, but alive, just like her.